So we can start. So good evening. My name is Kristaps, and yeah, I will share tonight my story how I got into Solidity Web3. I just started like 8 months ago, so I will share this knowledge today, and we will try to discuss some cool things and make something good for the world, which will be a surprise for later. So at first about me, my official title at Salto X company where I work is Crypto Cat. So that's the thing, or we can call Solidity Web3 developer. And previously I was iOS developer and developing also for other Apple platforms like macOS and iPad and so forth. And I think I'm a true geek because I like math and all these kind of things, and have built so many things before. And I counted that I'm in IT field, we can call it, more than 17 years. So I have seen quite a lot. And it's always hard to start the story, so presentation. So let me start with a small story. So this is my cat. His name is Mr. Bite. Not that he's biting, but like Kilobyte. So we can call him actually Kilobyte now as well, because he's a bit bigger as he was in the beginning. And and he likes to run all around. And I want to teach him something, but it's super hard to teach something to the cat, and it's like he's like moving and so forth. So I think it's similar to crypto field because it's like every day something happening new. So it's like running there. You don't know what to follow, and it's very tricky to learn something because it's hard to get the focus, as the cat has no focus at all. At least my cat, and I like to play with him like this as well. So I started my journey in Web3, end of the bull market. And in one of the last projects, which was Web2, I saw that blockchain is actually a thing. Like in finance, they already were using Web3 technologies, moving funds. And then I got interested more. I was here and there, like investing some money in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but never understood fully what it is and what I can build there. And yeah, the crypto field offered me so much, and it was super hyped up. So basically, it was end of last year. So as you remember, it was very hyped. It was like on the top, and then kind of went a bit downstream. So I went into a completely new kingdom, learning new things. But as you know, the bull market ended with a substantial, colossal dip, and many tokens and coins lost like 99%, and some even went to complete disaster, which I guess you know. And yeah, but I still think that Web3 and especially blockchain technologies are very beneficial for sectors like finance, jurisdiction, dealing with any kind of assets, and more like art and so forth. And I started to learn Solidity and Web3, and then I kind of accidentally ended up in Salto X company, where it just started. And what we are doing there, we are tokenizing the company's shares. So basically, you can give the tokens to your like contributors. Let it be their remote employees, other gig workers, and so forth. And you can share the company upside, which was pretty hard now as we are working remotely, especially in Web3 field. So we are trying to fix this issue. So we saw that that's something we can fix in in Web3 field in blockchain, and yeah. But I'm not going to talk that much about this project more. So let's go into the actual meat of this presentation. So Solidity is computer programming language, where you can build the smart contracts on EVM chains. So EVM chains are like Ethereum, Polygon, and many more. And about Solidity, it was proposed in August 2014 by Gavin Wood, and actually it was later developed by Ethereum project Solidity team, and the main person was Christian Reitwiesner, if I pronounce correctly. So I assume he's German, right?
But he's actually here in Berlin.
Yeah. So I found out that's that he's leading the Solidity team. And of course there are many other people. I got to also met one guy like a couple of months ago who invented the NFT standard. So it was interesting. He's running, I think, every second week Solidity language group open calls. So yeah, there are many people. It's not just one people. And the language is influenced by C++ and borrowed some concepts from Python and JavaScript. And yeah, so but actually the JavaScript influence has been reduced by latest versions. And shortly about the language, it's ECMAScript, or we can call it JavaScript-like syntax. But I would say only syntax is there from JavaScript because it's very strict. It's using static typing. And also one interesting thing is that it's using multiple inheritance. And in other words, it's C3 superclass linearization in math terms. But I'm not going into that much deeper today because it's a whole different topic and it can be just one talk about that. And also, if you want to go one level deeper, you can go to assembly code. There is language called U, if I pronounce it correctly, so where you can build assembly code for a EVM chain. But also, I'm not covering that in this talk. And on the other side, language Swift, from which one I was coming from. Someone told that Swift is like Frankenstein of many languages. I can definitely say that that's true because it's influenced by many programming languages like Python, Ruby, and so forth. And yeah, and Apple themselves are telling that Swift is designed to make writing and maintaining correct programs easier for the developer. And to be honest, I can agree to that statement because Swift is at first safe. Safety comes from type safety, so it's very strict. It's very fast because it compiles, and it's very fast. And it's the speed comes also from the C-based language factor because it's heavily influenced by Objective-C, that it's taking the dynamic aspect and moving to a static type. And it's very expressive. So if you are used to Ruby language, there are many like syntactic sugar things. So now in Swift, there are also these things and data structures and so forth. And it's being improved by every release. Now that we have short introduction about these two languages, let's put this knowledge into use. So as you know, now one of the biggest problems in the world is Ukraine grain export. So exporting grain from Ukraine to other countries which need this grain, because Ukraine is a very huge breadbasket for the world, and especially some countries. So during this presentation, we will try to build a solution for this problem in Solidity and also in Swift, making a very simple iOS application. And there are two main problems to this issue. So first is that 4 parties need to agree that and sign a contract. We'll discuss about that a bit later. And the second is logistics part. And I think this is perfect candidate for smart contract, because everything we can write on the chain, it stays there, it's open, everyone can see, everyone can follow. So I think it's very good opportunity to build this type of application. Because these actions are very deterministic. So once it's there, once we sign something, once we do something, when the shipment goes from Ukraine to Turkey, for instance, it's there. We cannot turn it back basically. If you take out the grain from the ship, it's already gone. So it's very, very deterministic, which is the case for blockchain, because blockchain likes deterministic things and written on the chain, and that's it. We cannot delete them. Okay, we can change them, but still all the records are there. So it's public ledger for logistics problem. And the first thing we need to solve in this mini solution is to sign multi-party agreement. So basically, schematics are like this: that there's agreement. This is actually taken from one article. I think it was one article on the internet. So first, Ukraine and Russia and Turkey, supported by United Nations, signed agreement. So it's multi-party agreement that Russia will not target ports while shipments are in transit. Then Ukraine will guide the vessels with the cargo through the mines, and then the Turkey will check that everything is fine, that there are no weapons, anything. So we're only talking now about grain. And United Nations will check if everything is fine, and they will check when the shipment goes to the final destination. So, for instance, it can be Egypt. And the next part is logistics problem. And here, schematics are like this: that Ukraine registers the shipment. So the ship is registered in the port, let's say Odessa. Then the ship goes from Ukraine to Turkey through mines. Turkey checks that everything is fine, so it examines the ship, all that stuff. And then the ship leaves from Turkey to the destination, let's say Egypt. And when it arrives in Egypt, then United Nations approves that everything is fine. It's very simplified because there are many other steps, and I know stuff can go wrong. But for this example today, this is the schematics that we are trying to build. So now let's start to code. So we will start with Solidity side. So we need to define a couple of things, smart contract on the agreement side. So we need to have the wallet addresses. So we will assume that each country will have a wallet address. It doesn't matter if it's a multi-signatory one or a simple one. It doesn't matter in this example. Then we need to keep the signed status. So basically, when each country will
sign this agreement, only then we can move to the next logistics part. And we will emit also sign events. So maybe in future someone else will build the front end, then they can listen to these events and show notification code there. And the initial setup, we need to pass in all these addresses, and this data is visible on the chain, so everyone can see what's happening and what the status it is. And after that, each country will sign this agreement. So once they sign with their wallet. So we know which country is it because we already defined that in the beginning. And so all the 4 countries need to sign this agreement. And only then, when it's signed, we can go to the next part. So basically here, checking that the agreement has been signed. Otherwise, no shipments can be made. And now to the iOS side. I was trying to think how to build on the iOS, so it's not like ideal solution. But at first, I came up with a screen that there are 4 countries, so we can push the buttons. I will show the demo later as well. And when each country has signed the agreement, then we can go to the next step. It's very bare bones, but the main idea of this presentation was to see the difference between these 2 languages. And once each country signs, then we also keep the signed record in application data. So we can see that, for instance, Ukraine has already signed in this case, and we are waiting for other signatures to continue to the next step. And once all the countries have signed, so we can go to the next step. The next button has been activated, so we can go to the next step. And if you are not aware about this gibberish, this is Swift UI, but I will not focus that much about this during the talk. Otherwise, we will end tomorrow morning. But similar, like with Solidity, like on the blockchain, we're also keeping the signatory states. So each country, when they have signed the agreement, then we flick the Boolean value to true. At first, all the values are false, obviously signed. I'm getting back on the Solidity side. We need to build one small add-on. It's a very powerful feature in Solidity language called modifier. Basically, you can build a small piece of code which you can run before the function or after. In this case, we're running before. So when we want to register the shipment or move to the next state, we're checking that all the countries have signed the agreement. So this is a very powerful feature on the Solidity side. And now let's move to the main part. So as the agreements have been signed, so we need to ship the grain to the countries who actually need the grain. And here, first we need to set up the shipment statuses. And as you see, for both languages, Swift and Solidity, it's almost identical code, which is very nice theme. So for shipment statuses, we're keeping first one is the shipment is in Ukraine. So basically, it's registered in Ukraine port. Second, it's has been left Ukraine port, so it's somewhere in the Black Sea. Then it arrived in Turkey. Then the Turkey examines and the shipment leaves the Turkey, going to the final destination where it needs to go, and then it arrives at the final destination. And like we discussed previously, there are different parties which are involved to check the status. And also we need to keep track of the actual shipment. So on Solidity side, we have the destination, which is string, so basically text information about the destination. I'm keeping this very simple, so no hard things. And we're keeping also the shipment status as it is maybe somewhere in Black Sea or whatever. And on this Swift side, it's basically identical. Just we need identifier so we can list in the table. So the iOS platform, iPhone understands how to list in the table. Otherwise, it doesn't know how to do it. Now, after the initial setup has been done, so let's go to the main brain of this small application. So at first we need to create the shipment. So let's start with the Solidity side. So we first, when the shipment is made, we need to check that the caller, the wallet address is Ukraine. Then we are creating the shipment and keeping the shipments in the mapping. So each shipment will have the identifier. So we are implementing the identifier and creating the shipment. So we're passing the destination. Let's say it's Egypt. And the second is the shipment status. So first it is still in Ukraine, in one of the ports. And here we're logging out the information. So well, when I will show the demo, then you will see how it looks like. And emitting the notification as well. And on iOS side, pretty much similar. When we are creating the shipment, we are passing in destination, then saving, and one thing we need to do is that we need to select what kind of country we are acting as. So I will show how I build that later, that you can see on the screen, on the right screen. And pretty much similar, like on the Solidity side, we're creating the shipment structure, passing destination, shipment status, and saving in application data, and closing at the model screen here on the bottom, as you can see. Yes. And like with other statuses, we also need to move the shipment to the next phase. So if it leaves the Ukraine port, so when we are checking that it's still in Ukraine wallet, then we are changing the status for the shipment and emitting notifications. So for instance, front end, if you build one, you can show that something has been changed. Or someone else can build the application that they are checking if everything is fine. For instance, United Nations developers. And on iOS side, I built simple button that you can change the shipment statuses. But we need to check that we have correct country. And here I built the check that you can we are checking if according to the next status there is correct country. So for instance, the next status is left Ukraine, then we need to see that it's Ukraine and so forth. And also we need to check the status, the country is correct, and if it isn't, then we are showing alert on the screen, which I will show in a bit. And similarly with the next status, when it is in Turkey, so the wallet address is Turkey, so we're checking that to change the status, similar like with the previous state. And on the iOS side, if we want to change the status that it has arrived in Turkey, we are checking its correct country. But as you see on the top, it's still Ukraine, and it's showing this nice alert that we cannot change the shipment status unless we are changing the country that we are acting as. And how I build this country selector is just simple modal window where we can select the country we are acting as. And the next step is then we change the country to Turkey, and we are okay to change the status if it has been arrived in Turkey. And the next one is being examined by Turkey. So as we know the schematics, the Turkey is responsible to examine that everything is fine. So it's acting as intermediary. And similarly, changing the status here. If we are Turkey, so we're examining the shipment there. And so it leads to the final destination. And once it arrives to final destination, let's say Egypt, then United Nations, they check that everything is fine because they are foreseeing everything. So they're foreseeing the final step. And once it's done, then the shipment has been successfully done. And the same on the iOS side with Swift. But now let's go to the demo. So I will show the demo. Stop recording for a while. So for Solidity, I'm using Remix tool. I'm not sure how many you are familiar with coding for Solidity, but this is a very nice tool that you can run code. Okay, now you see. So I built this example here. I'm not sure how I can change the one. It's very cold you saw, but what we will do, we're going to deploy smart contract and test in real life. So here I have the test wallet addresses. I guess someone is very excited about this. Okay. So first what we need to do, I have these 4 wallet addresses. It's very long, but as you can see, these are 4 addresses that we are passing to. So basically the wallet address for Ukraine, Russia, Turkey, and United Nations. So let's deploy the smart contract on the chain. I'm using needs to sign this agreement. So here we can change account. So this is for Ukraine. So we can sign agreement. So here you can see that it has been signed. Then we need to change this to the next country. We have signed it. The next one, which is Turkey, and then United Nations. And if someone else wants to join the party, so we're changing to another account. Boom. Unknown signing, so we don't know who is that. We don't understand. And also, I built a nice helper function that we can see, most likely you can see, but here it's written that Ukraine has signed, Russia has signed, Turkey has signed, and nations sign as well. And now, after that is done, then we can create the actual shipment. I can do like this. Is it now better?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be, I think, like this, much better. So now we need to select Ukraine, Ukraine's score, and let's create a shipment. So create shipment, and here we need to pass the destination. Let's say Egypt. We're creating the shipment, and here we see the shipment has been created, and identifier is number 1. And I built a helper function that we can get the shipment. We need to provide the shipment identifier, so in this case it's number 1. And here we see the destination is Egypt, and this 0 is the shipment status, because these statuses in this enumeration are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 0 is still in Ukraine. And now let's move the shipment to the next status. So for that we need to still select Ukraine. But let's try to select some different country. Let's say Norway. So left Ukraine. So we need to pass the shipment ID. Left Ukraine. Wow. Caller is not Ukraine. We cannot do that. We need to use only Ukraine's wallet, so that only Ukraine can do it. No one else can do it. So now shipment has left Ukraine. Next one is that we need to select Turkey. So if Turkey receives the shipment, arrives in Turkey, boom, we're changing the shipment status. Then it's being examined. Boom, only Turkey can do it. And then after it's being examined, it's going to the final destination, and then we can say that it's arrived in final destination. And we still have selected Turkey. So let's see if that works. No, caller is not United Nations, because the only United Nations can say that the shipment is done and has arrived. So let's select the United Nations wallet and arrive. So the shipment number 1 arrived in Egypt. And we can also check the shipment, so we can see that the status is 4, which is arrived in destination country. So the shipment has been done. So that's it from the Solidity side and smart contract. So it's very, very bare bones, but using blockchain and Solidity, we can make this kind of agreement, multi-party agreement, and also logistics problems. So everyone can see it's open, and no questions asked. So I think it's a very perfect solution for that. But that's not all. Let's go to the iOS side. I will warn that this is beta version of iOS SDK, so there might be some errors in the screen. So let's see. Let's try to run this application and hope it won't crash. Yeah, I'm talking about this error. So here we see the first screen. So all these four countries. So we need to sign four-side agreement. So Ukraine signs, Russia signs, Turkey signs, and United Nations signs. So now the agreement has been signed. So only then we can go to the next part. So here the screen shows. Please select the country, or we can try to add new shipment, but we cannot do it because we need to select the correct country. Let's try to do it. Okay, let's try to do United Nations. Still, it's not the correct country, so we need to select Ukraine. Now we can add the shipment. So we need to enter destination. Let's say Egypt, the same. So now it's saved in the list. So for that one, we needed to remember the identification for the shipment, so we can show on the table here on the screen. Now let's try to go over these shipment statuses. So left Ukraine. Arrive in Turkey. Oh no, we are not acting as Turkey. So let's select Turkey. So we're acting as Turkey. So now we can tell that the shipment has arrived in Turkey. Then Turkey examines the shipment. Everything is fine. Left Turkey. Now it's traveling to the final destination. So we can say that it arrived in the final destination. But what will happen now if you are still following and not sleeping?
You cannot do it.
What will happen?
You can't do it because they're
Yes, you cannot do it because only United Nations they are foreseeing everything and they are approving this shipment. So we're selecting that we are acting as United Nations. Now we can change that status, and as you can see, this shipment is done, so it's marked as disabled on the screen. So this is very, very, very bones application. There is no like security on the iOS side, and to be honest, it's not so easy to build on the iOS side. We will get this on the blockchain. But let's go back to the presentation. So now that we have come almost to the end, so we saw the demo. Let's talk about the small recap that we discussed today. So first about the similarities between these two languages that I found out building these two applications. So first one is that both of these languages are statically typed, which is very nice thing in my opinion, because there is less error prone when we compile. So it's not so loosely typed, for instance, as JavaScript, unless you're using TypeScript. And data structures are pretty much similar as well, like enums, structures, and also kind of smart contract to the classes in Swift. And inheritance is very strong aspect in Solidity, also in Swift. Although in Swift there is small thing that people are using a lot, protocol-oriented programming, which is another beast. But this inheritance, especially multi-inheritance, we can get it wrong very easily, because if one function is in one smart contract and in another one, and we include them different sequence, then strange problems can arise. So need to be very, very careful. And a little bit about Solidity language. I think the biggest thing which was in my mind very interesting, that there is no null value. So we cannot say that something is null. So if we initialize a number, integer, it's 0. If we initialize Boolean, it's false. It's different like it is on Swift and other languages, which has nullability feature built in. And Solidity, it's pretty similar, pretty primitive. It doesn't have so many niceties, syntactic sugars, and also data structures that you need to build yourself. For instance, iterating over mapping. So you need to build that data structure yourself. And Solidity doesn't have very strong strings support, so it's pretty hard to work with textual data, but I can explain that because this language is meant for financial reasons, and we are working more with numbers, signatures, and these kinds of data structures. And about Swift language, I think it's very moderate language. Now it has come the state that it's pretty stable, so we don't need to worry building something on the Swift language. It's very, very expressive. A lot of things we can express in a short manner, and I think it reads very well as well. And now there are so many syntactic sugars built by the core team that are on our disposal. And last but not least, about the blockchain side, I want to discuss about that as well. So about the blockchain, what I can mention, especially about this example that we built today, is that first it's immutable. So we can't remove data once it's written on the chain. We can alter the information, we can edit that, but still the records are there. The second is that it's transparent. Everyone can see what's there, when it was written. Of course, it's anonymous. We don't know who did that unless we are telling that somehow. And the third, which is double-edged sword, it's security. Because security you can get it wrong as well. As we know, almost every day there are smaller or bigger hacks on the blockchain side. So security is very, very important topic and being researched every day. And what I can say about transitioning from Swift to Solidity, I can say that it was a piece of a pie. And by the way, this is a pie that I baked myself in my garden from the stuff that I was growing, rubber and blueberries and everything. So it wasn't a piece of cake, definitely not, but it was a piece of pie. Because in my mind, at least for me, Swift and Solidity are very different, but yet very similar. And that similarity comes from the C language aspect, because Swift was very much influenced from Objective-C, at least in the beginning. And now that we have come to the end, so I'm open to questions or discussion. So if you have any questions, then please free. Or if you are not sure what to ask, you can ask me later in Twitter or any other social channel. Thank you. Here are my details if you want to save.
What did you use to learn about like the calls or learn about the blockchain? Because I understand you came from Swift, right? But then like when you had those questions, so how did I actually do this? Like what were your go-to resources? Do you have like good recommendation?
I would say Eat the Blocks YouTube channel. Eat the Blocks YouTube channel. That's really good resource. Then there was a game where you build crypto zombies. Yeah, that was very nice thing. I know, maybe you can message me in Twitter or something. I can send everything because it's like hard to recommend everything. There are other resources, and also the tool Remix, with which I showed you how to build smart contract. I was just dabbling different things, trying to build solutions like this for grain export. I think it's very good solution. So it's like not big and not also small kind of. So I know. I would say always try to experience, not like there's this what's they call this name tutorial trap, where you are watching all my tutorials and not trying out. It's with everything. I know, coding, drawing, whatever. You need to try and build something. And of course, when I started to work professionally, then the learning curve is much steeper. So there's, I know, no silver bullet. Someone watches videos, someone reads, whatever. And also now I'm writing about Solidity on my website, the blog. So every month I'm writing a new blog, what I'm learning. So yeah, if that's useful, you can check out the blog.
How long would you say it took you to switch from Swift to?
I was learning 2 weeks, then I talked with one person from Salto X, and then I kind of in 2 days I started to work this way. So everything happened very, very fast. But like I said, like trying and also fucking up everything, it's like good learning as well. So yeah, the best is like to try and screw things and so forth. Of course, in blockchain it's not so good if you screw up because of all the hacks and everything. But shit happens. I did some weird, like not weird, big mistake a couple of weeks ago as well. So stuff happens. But on the blockchain, it's good that all the records are there, so it's not erased. So you can kind of like revert back. So if you kind of delete the database, which is a good thing.
All right, maybe do you use any Web3 APIs? And if so, do you have a favorite one and why is it your favorite one?
I mean, what do you mean by like alchemy, something like that?
Something like that, or yeah, I can elaborate.
We are using alchemy for NFT data retrieval. I think it's really good. But from my experience, if I don't need them, then I'm not using third-party solutions because I have been burned previously when I needed to do something, and there was like new version of Swift language, and they are not supporting. You need to wait, and maybe that solution will be hacked. So it's like I say, when you take something from outside, like third-party solution, you need to treat that as your kind of code, basically. And if that code is not visible, you kind of check it. It's not audited, then I wouldn't do it. But alchemy is a good thing because it's really used, and so many solutions are using. I think Moralis is very good, but I have no experience with that. And there are other tools, but I'm not using those that much. Like mostly doing blockchain side where I write Solidity. So it's more for like kind of front end things. But we're using alchemy, and we are happy because when you need to deploy the contract on the chain, either you need to run your own node, which not so many people want to do it. Now with these electricity prices, right? So you can use Alchemy for that, and it's very nice. And it supports like many EVM chains, like Polygon, Arbiter, and so forth.
Just to interject there, because I'm curious, did you try Infura or why not Infura?
Infura as well. Yeah, I tried. Not sure. Somehow, I think Alchemy UI felt better. But it's Infura. It's something as well. Like I know how they differ. We use just like small set of functionality.
Yeah, I did the same. I used Infura, and then somehow I ended up on looking back. I'm not quite sure why.
Unless maybe you use like bigger toolset from that tool, maybe there are differences, but I don't know the difference myself.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kristaps.